Can you crowdsource your organization's AI strategy? Meet the Chief Legal Officer of Microsoft who says, yes, you can. Coming up next on All In on AI. As the use of generative AI increases, so does the complexity of issues faced by in-house legal teams. After all, if your job is to protect your organization and its employees, how do you navigate the implications of this new technology? And how can you put it to work for yourself? Today, I'm talking with Hossein Nowbar, CVP and Chief Legal Officer of Microsoft, who will answer these questions and more. Hossein leads a multidisciplinary team of professionals in our Corporate, External, and Legal Affairs Group, or CELA, as we refer to it here at Microsoft. He oversees all legal support for Microsoft's worldwide research, engineering, marketing, and sales organizations, which support and enable customers in over 100 countries. He's also at the forefront of our Customer Zero journey, leading efforts to harness AI to transform the way our legal team works. A very warm welcome to you, Hussein. Now, we've heard a bit about what you do and your responsibilities, but what does it all mean?
Thanks, Jared. I think I have the best job in the world. Really, what I do is I understand the technology, I understand the law, and I understand the customer and regulator concerns, and really try to broker solutions where what I would say is our technology is informed by our legal landscape, and that our legal strategies are really grounded in our technology and technology innovations. So I broker solutions.
Fantastic. Now, I understand you're also the co-sponsor of bringing AI into CELA. What's that been like for you?
It's amazing. Like I fell in love with technology with Windows 95 and getting access to the World Wide Web. And I found this kind of portal, this journey of kind of discovery with the internet. And it's actually the reason I came to Microsoft. So when that AI capabilities started getting more robust and more accessible to legal departments, I was like, hey, this is a technology that is going to change the way we work. And we need to change the way we work. So I jumped right into it and really worked with other people like Nancy King and our chief data scientist, Juan Lavista Ferrer, to really come up with solution scenarios where we can evolve our legal practice at Microsoft.
All right, well, take us back to the situation you faced right before you started with generative AI. What prompted the AI journey inside of CELA, and then where did it go from there?
You know, Satya made a statement that really resonated with me. He said, technology is a deflationary force in inflationary times. Mm-hmm. And in the legal department, we are in inflationary times when it comes to regulation. We're facing a tsunami of regulation around the world, whether it's the Digital Markets Act, the Data Act, the Digital Services Act, or just general antitrust regulation. And to maximize the talent that we have in the department to meet those challenges, we really had to think differently about the way we worked, and the timing of AI could not have been better. So we're really looking at AI capabilities and Copilot capabilities to help us scale to meet that tsunami of regulation.
Let's talk strategy then. What did you do to bring generative AI into CELA?
It was a really interesting exercise. We did both from a kind of a top-down and bottoms-up exercise. We really crowdsourced ideas. We created this award, and Nancy King, my chief of staff, came up with called What a Great Idea Award, the WAGI. And we solicited ideas. We had 250 different crowdsourcing ideas about the scenarios where we could deploy AI to really evolve the way we practice. And we also did what I would say a top-down analytical analysis of our spend. Where are we spending the most dollars with outside counsel or partners? And we identified 3 categories that we called transact, comply, and advice.
All right, so 3 areas. Tell me a little bit more about those.
Well, it's really interesting. You know, when in the advice area, one of the things that we do is we engage with outside counsel to give us legal advice. And there are certain areas of law, like antitrust law, where the law itself doesn't change a lot. It's the scenarios that change. So the core part of that legal advice is going to be about 60 to 70% the same. But every time we engage with the outside counsel, we are rebuying that advice. So in the advice category, we're deploying generative AI to really kind of consolidate, not just for us, but our our outside counsel to increase their efficiency and our return on our investment. On Transact, we do hundreds of thousands of agreements a year, and we're deploying generative AI to really drive what I would say a faster service level agreement with our clients, and also ensure better quality control and obligation management in terms of performing against it. And on Comply, I talked about the tsunami of regulation. We get what's called requests for information all the time, which means they want all the data. It's a very data intensive review process, and we're trying to use it for auditing and compliance and data production scenarios.
Yeah, that's really interesting to see how you organize that. Are there other scenarios that really popped out to you as you kind of dug into the organization?
Absolutely. One area that that's particularly close to my heart is our immigration work. And one of the things that we do, we get about 65,000 immigration inquiries a year. And we've got about 16,000 families that we're supporting as part of Microsoft's employment base. And the immigration work is very difficult and very human intensive. We've fortunately have a large repository of immigration data, and we've been training models against that data to really come up with a co-pilot advisor that can answer a lot of the immigration questions and fill out and prepare the form and documentation for immigration applications. And it's been amazing and incredibly productive. So much so that, I also lead the pro bono program. We're extending that capability to some of our pro bono partners like Kids in Need of Defense, so they can leverage the generative AI capabilities and models that we've created on Microsoft's Copilot technologies.
That's fantastic. I mean, we're the Copilot company, and I love to hear Copilot being used in these types of very human scenarios where they make such a big difference.
And I have to tell you how excited we are about Copilot, because we really started this digital transformation journey before the Copilot became available to us. And there's tremendous excitement. And it's fascinating because people are just looking at taking some routine tasks and using Copilot to quickly get them off their desk so they can focus on higher value work. And it's been incredibly awesome for the department to have access to it.
Music to my ears. I'm saying music to my ears. All right. Well, now from the lens of a growth mindset, what were the biggest learnings for you and your organization as you've gone through this process?
Data is everything. And the first exercise that we had to go through to enable our digital transformation was to build a data factory, collect all of our data from our disparate locations, consolidate them in one place. Some of those are within the Microsoft boundaries, and some of them are within the outside counsel boundaries. So we have to manage around some of the concerns around data privacy, data sovereignty, because some of our outside counsel are not in the United States. But really was to, one, build the data factory so we could train the models.
Taking your data for what it is now, what advice do you have to customers if it's not perfect? Like if they've got to start with what they've got?
It's really hard. And the inventory part by itself is really hard because a lot of people just store their data on their hard drives and they don't have a central location. So aside from creating a central location, I think it's really part of getting people used to the mindset of sharing that data so other people can get the benefit of it. It was very much like our cloud journey, trying to convince people that if they move their data to the cloud, it will be safe. And that's a journey we're still on. So this behavioral change is very hard. And even once you get people to share the data, then you have to reskill them. They have to learn how to prompt that data. And it's slightly different than the search that you might have like on Bing, especially because the Copilot capabilities are so amazing when it comes about talking about tone. One of the things, for example, when I use it, sometimes it uses passive voice. And the one thing that law school beat out of me was the use of passive voice. So sometimes I'll work with Copilot and it drafts something for me. It's awesome. And I'm like, change it to active voice. And it does that beautifully. And that's something that, it's a journey. And it's a journey where the technology is learning, but the user is also learning to interact with it to maximize the return.
Absolutely. What I've realized using Copilot now for, 10 plus months is that I realized this technology had trained me more than I thought, pre-Copilot. And I had to unlearn a bunch of that stuff so that I could interact with it more like I do a person. And when I got that mental picture, then it made all the difference in my prompts and the way I interacted in multi-turn ways.
Yeah, and it's fascinating because I've been reading a lot about this new kind of degree coming out of prompt engineering. And I read this article about an economic advisor to the UN that said AI is not going to take your job. A person who knows how to use AI might take your job.
Well said.
So that interaction reskilling is very important as well as the availability of the technology and the training.
All right, Hossein. So one of the hardest things to change is human behavior. And that's the case whenever there is some sort of change. You've done a pretty good job here, but how did you tackle it? How did it go?
Yeah, there's an old saying that says you change behavior either very slowly or through a crisis. I tried to do neither. What we really focused on was three factors: prioritize, incentivize, and recognize. So the thing we did is we had to lean into it and say, this is a department-wide priority. The number of times that I stood up at the CELA all-hands meetings and really reinforced Dynamo, and you have to do it in three channels. You have to do it verbally, you have to do it in writing, and then you have to do it in your actions. So we really prioritized it. The second thing, what we did is we incentivized it. So I came up with some savings that we can have for the department, and I took 10% of those, 30% of the savings actually, and put it aside as a pool of money that if you come up with great ideas where we can deploy AI, generative AI and Copilot to solve legal issues and problems, you can actually tap into this budget to fund it. And the third one we did, we had to celebrate. You have to celebrate people who are adopting it and showcase it. So at the CELA Summit, I had an AI session that I led where we talked about the scenarios. We asked the people to take the stage and talk about the efficiency and the savings they gain. So really kind of prioritizing, incentivizing, and recognizing were key to adjusting and revising the culture.
That's fantastic. What a great recipe. But I will say that I've noticed that just as you represented, the thing that makes the biggest difference is having a leader like you that stands up and says, we're going to do this. All right, when I talk to customers, a lot of them are a bit worried about starting because they're just fearful they're going to get something wrong. What would you say to them based on your experiences?
It's fascinating. This is one of the things that Satya taught all of us, which was the growth mindset. It's okay to get some things wrong. It's a natural part of your journey. And actually, you learn more from some of those mistakes than you do from your successes. Like, I will tell you that when we talked about kind of prioritize, incentivize, and recognize, I excited a lot of people in CELA. So now I have 1,000 flowers blooming of different scenarios where people are investing in generative AI. And it's actually a challenge to bring it all together and make sure that we work on one system. And that we're architected properly. So anything to any extreme can be dangerous, but it's better to do something than to do nothing. So my biggest advice is don't get left behind, jump on this. It's going to be transformative.
That's exactly right. I think you have to determine which way you want to err. And in this case, you kind of want to lean forward into the technology.
Absolutely.
It's perfect. Hussein, thank you so much for your time. It's just great to hear about your journey. Fantastic. I'm excited about Copilots, obviously, and really excited to hear what you've been up to and look forward to what you're going to do.
Thanks, Jared, and thanks for interviewing me. We've overlapped on Microsoft for over 16 years, so it's really awesome to be able to sit down with you and talk about something that we're both very passionate about.
All right, you heard it directly from Hossein. When it comes to AI, you don't want to be left behind. Are you ready to start your AI journey? Thanks for joining us today. I'm Jared Spataro, and this has been All In on AI.